All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Near Mint Condition. This is a little bit different than what you usually see. So we have the same cast and crew of old reader, new reader. Myself, Maddie. We've got Amanda, and
Hey
we've got
guys.
Omar. So, as you've heard us talk about earlier in other episodes, we are doing a read along review of War of the Realms, which is the most recent big Marvel event. Now, the reason why we kind of wanted to read this and why it's so interesting and neat is because this is following directly from Jason Aaron's run on Thor and continued run on Thor, which has been building up for a very, 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 very long time.
Since
And it's also
2012, right?
interesting. Yeah,
That's a long time.
it's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's also very interesting and different. I mean, in my opinion, my limited Marvel opinion, because it's such a big like fantasy event for Marvel, which to me makes it really interesting. Being a fantasy fan myself, I think Amanda can agree.
Yes.
Um, to get those kind of elements and then have our favorite superheroes in it. It's pretty cool. So we wanted to kind of read along. So there'll be spoilers obviously because we're gonna have to review these issues. Um, but we can go ahead and tell you that if you haven't read any of Jason Aaron's Thor, you can jump into this. You'll
hmm
be fine. So far, everything seems okay. I do think you should
Agreed.
read Jason Aaron's Thor and Mighty Thor. I think it's only going to enrich your
Yes.
experience because already there's some things that are happening that I'm like, oh man, are they gonna do this? Is
Yeah.
this gonna happen? Ooh, okay. But yeah, so let's begin. So what did everybody think about? Where do we want to start? Do we want to start on just start on
Um.
issue one?
Well.
Jump
Um,
in,
Do we want to start with
give
a
the
quick?
setup.
So yeah, the set. Let's start with the
yeah,
setup.
let's.
So
Before we do that, I need to give a really quick shout out to Smotlog. Yes, I got the book, man. Thank you so much. That was really sweet of you. Hey Mary, hey Make Havoc, just saying
yeah,
a little hi. Gio,
and
what's
I
up?
want to borrow it when he's done reading it because I
Oh
want to
wait.
read that the fix by
So
Nick
Philip
Spencer.
Evans asked really quick, save us some time. Are the first two War of the Realms terrible? No, Philip, they're really good so
Philip,
far.
come on, Philip.
Really good. So far. You can't go wrong with Jason Aaron.
We're not talking
And
about
Can't go wrong.
Hellboy.
Russ Dauterman's
The art's
artwork and Matt Wilson's
beautiful.
coloring. I can't even.
All
Yeah.
right,
Okay.
It's so
Amanda,
good.
give us a quick synopsis of the last 7 years of Thor that leads into
Oh, I was
from
gonna give a
Thor.
really super.
I
Okay.
can.
Okay,
Yeah. Go
condense.
ahead. Go ahead, Maddie. There's my
Go
baby.
for it.
She's
Okay.
joining us today.
So here's what
Apparently.
we've got basically. So the most condensed version is while the past like 7 years of Thor, while Thor's doing his own thing, becoming unworthy, Jane Foster becoming Thor. Spoilers, I guess, but you should know by now. Um,
Yeah.
becoming worthy again. During all of that, Malekith, who is what he's like half dark elf or full dark
He
elf,
is dark elf. Yeah, he's a dark elf.
dark elf. So
Yeah.
he's the main big bad of all of this, and he's been slowly conquering realm by realm. So there's in Asgardian mythos, in the Thor mythos, there are 10 different realms,
Yep. They
right?
label them all here in the intro in case anyone needs them. We
Yeah,
could try to pronounce them, but I'm not going to do that.
you've got a lot. You've got like Jotunheim, you've got Niflheim, you've got Midgard, which is Earth. So basically, at this point, coming up to War of the Realms, Malekith and his forces, which also include a double agent, Loki, of course.
Always
Um,
double agent.
which I mean, it's pretty amazing that he's continued to be a double agent for about 7 years with this. Like that's a pretty long game. Not that Malekith doesn't know, but whatever. So at this point, Malekith has conquered 9 of the realms, and he's left Midgard for the end. Because of course, if you're gonna have a big event, you're gonna leave Midgard for the end. Now Midgard is Earth, so for people who aren't familiar, I knew that term from Final Fantasy VII, but Midgard is Earth. So that's their last stomping ground. So along the way, it's not just Malekith and his forces. He's also recruited people recruited different races from different realms. So he's married like the Elf Queen. He's recruited the Ice Giants. No surprise there.
Yes.
Happy father-son reunion with Loki. And also the Valkyries, which is a big deal because you also have on Midgard's kind of side and defender, Angela, who was raised by the Valkyrie, is Thor's sister, and yet is going to have to fight them in all of this. So that's basically where we are with that. And that's the kind of the as too long didn't read version
No,
that I can give
That was really good. The only thing I would add is that right now Midgard
It's
and
the last
Asgard
remaining one.
are Midgard is the only thing that's left that like Maddie said, but Asgard is disconnected because the bridge was destroyed by Mangog
Right.
during Jane Foster's last run. Like
So
Jane
the
Foster
Mhm.
defeated
Bifrost
it.
is gone.
Odin is kind of weak. Uh, Heimdall is no
Blind.
longer powerful. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't have the sword to summon the Rainbow Bridge. And that gets really cool a little bit later. But yeah, that's it, and that's where we start. And Thor has multiple hammers, not just one. I mean,
Yes.
he lost his main hammer, but
Which I
he's
mean, we
got
know. I know what I want from this, and we'll get there. But there's a lot of hammers. It only
okay.
means one thing for me.
So
We'll get
let's talk about issue 1 and
Yeah.
how this war, these lords of Midgard, as they're calling themselves, come to Earth and claim war upon
Yes.
Earth's heroes. Right. So I'll kick it off really quick.
Okay.
It starts off with Odin sitting in his throne in Asgard all by himself. Like I said, Asgard's been destroyed. A lot of the Asgardians have now come to Earth and are refugees here on Earth. Uh, Meanwhile, Malekith sent a bunch of dark elves to assassinate him.
Yep.
And right off the bat, like I said, this is spoilers, but come on, how many times has Odin died? Only to return an issue later. But he gets gutted by a bunch of dark elves, and we are led to believe that he is dead. Now, he's weakened because of the fight with Magog and the destruction of Asgard. And then we have Loki show up on Earth. He shows up to Thor and Thorgy, which is Thor's dog. Adorable, by the way. Also a member of the Avengers, recent member. And he's all weakened, and he's like, man, I've double-crossed Malachi. You got to believe me this time. And Thor's like, damn, dude, you've only been at this game since 1963. Sure, I'll believe you. And he's like, okay, take me to Malekith. And he takes him, but he doesn't take him directly to him. He takes him to, what is that, Jotunheim?
Jotunheim, yeah.
Yeah, Jotunheim, right? And he's like, hey, this is Malekith. And Loki's like, psych, I'm not really Loki.
Malekith.
I'm Malekith. And you're like, oh, shit, I just got played. You see, he believed it because I have to say that's really smooth for Malekith to do because he used his own brother's cunning ways against Thor because Thor didn't know whether to believe him or not. So he already knows that relationship, and I thought that was a really cool way of getting him to come to him. Yep. So pretty much, Malekith just leaves him there to get his ass beaten by a bunch of frost giants, right? But it's Thor, so we know better. So then, meanwhile, Malekith takes the rest of the lords of Asgard, like I think Maddie explained earlier, who they all were, including the Enchantress.
And I'm so glad the Minotaur, that Dario, or that guy.
The Enchantress, I mean,
I know
that's where it's at.
Yeah,
like
I was glad to see her.
Honestly, this is a really big. I mean, he's got a huge team with him, right? Like the Enchantress is one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel universe. Her alone has taken out, Thor multiple times, of course, and she was always defeated. But her in that one scene. Amanda, can you hold up that page where the rest of the Lords of Asgard come through with Malachi?
You mean the Lords of Midgard? This one right here?
Lords of Midgard, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let me highlight on you. Russell Dodderman's art and the colors on this are so perfect. I love that shot of all of them coming out.
Yes.
Because, you've got a lot of these Thor villains, some created by Jason Aaron, but some of these are classic Thor villains since the Stan Lee and Jack Kirby days. And you're like, oh, shit. Yeah. How are they going to fight? We've got Captain America and new Ghost Rider, who, did merge with the Celestial for a while, but still. New Ghost Rider, Spider-Man. I mean, these are characters that have taken down gods, too. I mean, they've fought Thanos, so it's not like they themselves are weak. But Thor's gone. Thor, they don't have Thor.
And Daredevil, yeah.
Right, Thor, Punisher's just blowing up everybody. I love
it.
He's
iron bullets. So remember the myth, elves can't handle iron.
Yeah,
so...
and they themselves, the elves themselves, know. They're like, oh shit, he's got iron bullets, and apparently in a supply of them, which I love that line. But that's an issue too.
So
back to this issue. So Loki hasn't been seen up until this, like I said, the battle. And the next page that Amanda had with the Avengers, when Captain America and Avengers assemble, I love that page as well. because Malekith is giving the speech. In the middle of the speech, of course, somebody smacks him across the face, and it's Cap with his shield, right?
Mm-hmm.
Captain America gets his shield back. He's like, Avengers Assemble. And of course, Spider-Man says something goofy like New York
is for lovers.
Well, and the whole thing with Spider-Man and Freya was great.
Oh, I love it.
Just the back, like, oh, you're the man of Spider. And, like, Thor always said all these things about you, but I thought he was exaggerating. I guess not.
And it was like, we're actually best friends. Like, oh, it was so perfect.
It's great to see these two worlds mix.
Yeah.
Matthew,
Asgard's like on Earth right now in New York, kind of almost as like refugees, correct?
Yeah. That's where they all came.
That's why they're all there hanging out.
Yeah.
I think Matthew Mangy just named our segment. This is Just Can't Stop Talking Comics. That's the segment. That's what it's called.
We're all new readers on this one, Matthew.
Yeah,
so this is just a review of this special 6-issue event.
This is very special because I think this is Amanda's first crossover, and I think it's also Maddie's first crossover in the Marvel universe. I know she's gotten some events in like DC, like she's done events in DC before, but this is like
the first one I've been able to follow because like I read a lot of just random Marvel stuff, so I don't keep up with the continuity. There's a reason for that. I think they've kept it going for too long, but I won't get into that, unlike DC. But
no, you're right.
One character run at a time, and I don't care if they connect. So this is the first time I read all of Jason Aaron's Thor as much as I could on Marvel Unlimited, and Mighty Thor to get ready for this. So I have the knowledge going in, which normally we read an event and I don't know anything. Me too. This is pretty cool to be able to know that, and especially because my girl, but I think that's more of issue 2.
It is issue 2, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just going to talk about that. I don't care about anything else. I just want to talk about that.
Okay. So let's finish out this issue.
Yeah.
And let's see. So then Loki hasn't been seen until his mom is being threatened by his by
Laufey, the king
glare
of the
here.
Giants.
I don't know if you guys can see that by his
here. You want me to hold it up?
Thanks, Amanda. Yes, I forgot. I've got the digital issue.
Yeah, I bought
that's his biological father, Loki, trying to kill his biological mother, Freya. And that's the first time Loki shows up, right? And he's like, now, before he had stabbed his mom in the back in, I think Thor issue 5 of the recent run, but he wanted to prove fucking Loki. I mean, come on, he's always betraying people. You never know the cards he's going to play.
He's a very conflicted character.
But I think this part he was being honest with him.
I think he was the last too. He just had to do that to get Malekith's favor.
Right.
So he did stab her, but she didn't die, and that was on purpose.
Yeah.
Right. So I think this is a really cool scene, and you have to hold this up, Amanda.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, because Loki kind of sacrifices himself. And his last words are like, "You need to go and find Thor." And then his father's like, in a very Greek god death kind of way for a Norse story.
Yes,
go ahead, Amanda.
So you start here, right? This is where you start. Trying to get the whole thing, and then this is the next page. Well, besides that, bam! And I like Ghost Rider and Spider-Man's reaction to it, and even Iron Man. He's like, "Buddy, this is a whole new ball game, guys. We are not on Earth anymore. We're dealing with these people," because he just ate his son.
Yeah, he digested his son.
Yep.
But before he left, Loki was like, "No, you guys need to find Thor, or you're never going to win."
Exactly, and then we go. Where he is.
That issue that page was so poignant because she's like, "How am I supposed to trust you at all?" And he's like, "You're about to
because of this."
That perfect, just straight on view of his face. I mean, it's a big panel, and then so you can tell that he knew right before this was gonna happen. Like, I'm gonna die right in front of you and prove.
Sacrificed himself.
Yeah,
and I think Russell Lauterman did an amazing job of showing that reaction in his face when he looks back at his mom.
So well.
Oh, so well. There's just so much there in that face right now.
I agree. And I can't, I know we're giving him a lot of credit, but Matthew Wilson, the guy that does the coloring, also has to get a lot of credit because his colors make his art pop out. It's just so amazing because, looking at the art, there's, lack of shadows. It's very plain when you look at it, but really pretty. Very pretty. But the colors just make it pop out so much more. So, that's pretty much what happens in issue 1. We get hey, where's Thor now? And he's still with a bunch of hammers fighting a bunch of frost giants.
He's about to get it on, and that's pretty much where it ends with issue 1.
So that's issue 1. We have 2 dead two casualties already, or do we?
Mhm.
Odin
Do we?
and Loki.
And Loki.
And then that takes us to issue 2. Now you could read the other stuff in between two issues. The only thing I think that you cannot read before that is the War of the Realms, the War Scrolls, issue 1. You
Yeah.
have to read issue 2 before you read that one. But the Punisher and the Guardians of the Galaxy tie-ins, those can be read after reading issue 1.
Yeah.
So then issue 2, would one of you ladies like to talk about this one?
Listen, the only thing that matters is that
She
Jane
was-
Foster, she's here. She doesn't have cancer anymore. But get this, she feels the call again.
Yep.
What call is that, Jane Foster? Listen, there's a lot of hammers. Is Jane Foster going to be Thor again? She better be Jason Aaron, or I'm done. Listen, you
So-
should be Jane Foster Thor again, or I'm
huh.
riot in the streets.
You think that's the route they're going? I'm
Yes,
thinking they're going a different route
What do you think they're
After-
going to go with it? Where do you
Give
think they're
me
going to take her?
after a certain beheading in this issue.
Oh, you think she's going to end up?
Well, let's talk about it.
Okay.
So issue 2, like Maddie said, opens up where they're all heading to Doctor Strange's house, right?
apparently
Because
the
they've opened up a
Sanctum
portal,
can hold millions of people, and
right?
they're
They've opened up a
using Ezra-
portal,
yes, to save everyone.
and that's where Jane Foster's hanging out, and that's where she ends up running into Freya. And there's Wolverine and Punisher have a team up, which I love that because they have. Oh, here, as I talk, I will let Amanda hold
It's
that.
okay. There
Thank
you go.
I've always loved this team up because they're both very similar characters. They both can't stand each other's guts, but then there's underlying have this bromance going too. Ever since the early '90s, these guys have hated and loved each other's
Mhm.
guts. And I love the joke in this, everybody just under their breath is like, "Aren't you supposed to be dead?"
Yeah,
And
and he-
Wolverine's like, "Yeah, we'll talk about that after a beer or two."
yeah,
right.
he's like, nope.
Um,
Yeah, give me a beer and we'll talk about it. Exactly.
So as of right now, as I'm seeing this is more of an Avengers and Thor crossover, which
Yeah.
of course Jason Aaron is writing Thor and he's writing Avengers, so that makes it
That makes
easier for
sense.
him to write everybody. But we also have people like Daredevil. Now this is very interesting. Daredevil shows up and so does Wolverine, but Daredevil shows up. Like I was talking about, Heimdall had lost his power. Like he can't be guided, to use the Rainbow Bridge. So very nonchalantly, Daredevil's like, "Oh, did I hear somebody needs help seeing? Like a blind person needs help seeing."
Yes,
And
exactly.
that becomes poignant later on in that one issue I was talking about.
War Squirrels.
Yes, I think it's
Okay.
really cool. Maybe I'll talk about that if we had time.
Okay.
But yeah, it's big, massive fight. The trolls are all about She-Hulk because of the way she talks
Yeah.
and how big she gets, and she's
Yeah.
smashing them. They're
That
like,
was really cute.
they were like, "Oh, I saw her first."
There are a lot of great, in the fight scenes, there are a lot of great fight scene moments, like with Cap. So he runs up 20 flights of stairs to go basically use himself as a battering ram to knock down frost giants. Like, I'm going back up, get me another one. And everyone's like, it's not hard to find them, Cap. Like, they're there. So there's a lot of great moments like that. And in the middle of it, you have Mr. Agar, Dario, who is using his Roxanne satellites to block all the magic signals, which is preventing Doctor Strange from opening up the portal fully to get everyone out. So he's having that issue as well. And then you have a lot of cute little fight scenes, and then all of a sudden we get the big arrival, right? Because someone isn't dead. And
Yep.
that would be Odin. And he comes flying in with the Valkyrie. And with Brunhild.
Now she's been hanging out, Broomhilda. She's been hanging out with the Guardians of the
Asgardians.
Galaxy, so that's
Yeah.
where she's been. And
And
I
that-
think this takes place after issue 8 because they're all together, and by the end of issue 8, they're like, "Hey, issue 8 of Asgardians. I'm sorry. Hey, there's this thing going on in New York. We got to go and help." And nobody can find Valkyrie. They're like, "Oh, where is she?"
And I think they kind of give a heads up to what happens in this issue too, because at the end of Asgardians number 8,
Mhm.
the person the woman who's kind of holding Valkyrie, because they're sharing the same body or whatever.
Yeah.
And usually the Valkyrie has more control, but at that point she lets the woman go and find her girlfriends, basically go see her.
That's right. Yeah.
Almost as if she knows that she's not coming back from this, because right after that is when Valkyrie gets summoned to
Yes.
go meet up with the rest of the Valkyries to go.
Apparently, neither is their horse, though.
Yeah, really.
At least they had one more ride together.
But yeah, so they show up in time to join the fight so that everyone else can get off or get away from that area.
Yeah, and
which unfortunately leads
yeah,
to their demise.
exactly. So
This issue
go
is
ahead.
basically a giant fight. Like
It
it's
is.
nothing but the superheroes fighting, and I love it. I
Well,
love
and it's called the Midgard Massacre for a reason.
Yeah.
yeah, like it's pretty much the destruction of New York, and
Yeah.
I love movies like that. I love comic books like that. I think it's great. And I think everybody has. I feel like Jason Aaron has an understanding of every one of these characters, and I think he has written every one of them with the exception of Daredevil. Like
Mhm.
he's written Doctor Strange. He's had a run on Wolverine. He's had Spider-Man and Wolverine. So
Yeah, you could
he
I saw the
totally gets
Doctor
all these
Strange
characters,
stuff. He really
and
does.
and he does a good job writing Matt Murdock. So yeah, they all have their own little fights. They all have like against the new Lords
Yeah.
of Midgard.
And
And
then go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
No, and then what happens is Jane Foster ends up so like we said, um Doctor Strange's magic couldn't get through because Malekith has his war witches. And so what Jane Foster does is while Blade is pretty much getting attacked by him, she comes up behind and, pretty much gets them. And that allows Doctor Strange to use the full force of his power to open up this portal. However, in doing so, he has no control over this magic, and he ends up grabbing every hero minus the Valkyrie, and they end up in the Avengers Mountain at the North Pole, and there's nothing they can do. They can't go back except watch on TV as all the Valkyrie, their horses, get completely and utterly laid to waste, which is kind of devastating. This is a great ending scene too. And we all know. Does everyone know that they made the announcement that Jason Aaron's writing Valkyrie, the next comic for those?
Well,
Yeah,
they know maybe now.
they know now. It's not new. It's news, but it's not like it's a surprise anymore. So this is what happens at the end of pretty much the end. Malekith ends up putting something right through her heart and beheading her, and then yeah, that's pretty much how that ends with the demise.
Yeah, so it's here that Daredevil says, "Sorry, did you say there's a blind man who needs help seeing? You might want to talk to me about that."
That's right.
Yeah.
And that leads into that little miniseries.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he ends up using summoning the Rainbow Bridge now with the sword, Heimdall's sword. So now Daredevil has that ability. So that I think that plays an important role. So if you're to read any of the miniseries, I would suggest reading that. I think it's a great little because it's like an anthology of collections. Like there's Daredevil written by Jason Aaron, the Warriors 3. There's a Wolverine and Punisher, and then Howard the Duck. Oh, Chip
Yes.
Zdarsky.
And Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. There's a couple of
Yeah.
tie-ins.
But they do warn you ahead of time. You must read issue 2 before coming back and reading this. So that's pretty much it. That's where we are. So Maddie, you see Jane Foster using the hammer and coming back as a Thor.
Absolutely. Well, honestly,
Awesome.
I think it'd be a waste not to. I think you have a really great event. I think that's the perfect time for Jane Foster to come back to it.
Yeah.
And if she's just going to help, you wouldn't have had that whole like inner monologue part where she's like, I feel the calling again. I haven't felt it for a long time. And that's the way she talked about being Thor. And that's the way she talked about listening to Mjolnir. So I think that's just foreshadowing what's to come.
That would be awesome if that was the case.
I think with all those hammers and Jason Aaron, when he wrote the God Bomb, how he had, the future Thor and young Thor, I think he's going to pull every Thor from different timelines, including Thunderstrike, Beta Ray Bill, Throg, which Throg's been hanging out with the as Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
now,
I thought I saw him in as Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, so Throg is
with Guardians right now, right?
Who's that? Angela?
Isn't Beta Ray Bill with Guardians?
Yes, Beta Ray Bill's with the Guardians. Yeah. So Throg is interesting because he's not like the original Throg. Well, original Thor Frog was Thor as a frog. Yeah. And then he made friends with this guy. This guy is Simon Walterson, who's loosely based on Walter Simonson. That's the guy that created the character of Frog. So, Yeah, I mean that's where we are. That's what I want to see. I want to see all these Thors at one time just come and beat the living shit out of all
Yes.
these lords of Midgard,
Midgard.
and I cannot wait for that scene. That's what I'm expecting, but you never know. It's Jason Aaron; he can go another way around
Anyway,
it.
yeah.
How would you ladies rate these first two issues?
I love
Let's
it.
rate them.
I mean, I love them. I mean, for first two issues with all the action and the characters, like you said, he really does get all of these characters. I don't think there was a misstep in how any of the characters, even with their brief interactions, were characterized, and the artwork. I would give this a solid I would give it a solid 8.5 out of 10.
That's exactly what I was going to give it. 8.5 out of 10. I think
I
it's a
agree.
great
It
start.
has
We still have a lot to happen, but the issue 2 was just killer, man. I love that. Nothing but action, and then a huge death, and
no, you can do nothing but action, have it be not good. But
yes,
Oh yeah.
very well.
you're right.
All the dialogue was very true to character.
Yes.
And it was the color was done. Everything was just really well done, and it's really hard to write an actiony issue.
It
A lot
really is.
Can't do it.
Yeah,
Jason Aaron did it well, and I think he did it in a way that it still appeals to people who don't like reading that type of issue or type of story where it's just action, action, action. So, hats off to him.
hats
Yes.
off to Jason Aaron. All right.
Yes. Well done.
So let's see. There's a couple questions in the chat.
Yeah.
Yes, Smotlog. I definitely suggest getting the compendium, but I'm not a fan of the compendiums because they're flimsy. Unless they're
Mhm.
hardcovers, I like that new saga that was just announced. But I really enjoy Morning Glories, and he's coming back to writing it. No, Abraham, I will not be
Jose?
doing a slipcase box set because I don't have it, and I already have those stories collected elsewhere.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Smotluck and Jose talked about the reading order. For one, I think I'd be happy to or if everyone wants to work with me, do a reading order of this. But I would not recommend skipping the God Butcher arc just because it's so good.
Yeah, you kind of have to go through it.
To start with Jane Thor,
Mhm.
but really, I don't think when I first read Jane Foster's Thor, I did not enjoy it. But when I read, Jason Aaron's Thor, and then went into the Jane Foster Thor, Mighty Thor, it's a lot better.
Yeah.
I just really recommend, if you can, read through it.
Yeah.
I think the payoff is worth it because this is the big payoff here.
If you want to, Matt, we could put something up on social media where you guys can follow it or see a list of what you should probably read before if you want to really prep for the War of the Realms saga that we're about to enter into.
I don't recommend getting that trade paperback that's a prelude to War of the Realms because that's really scattered about, and I would have mapped that thing a lot different than Marvel did. I think they're just cashing in on the name War of the Realms and just putting a bunch of stuff in there. But yeah, we can do that. That's easy because I kind of did that for you all anyway when I put the Thor folders out there.
Yeah, when you put those Thor folders together.
I'll just use Crushing Crisis as I would send you to him if you need you can do a video,
Peter's really good at doing those things.
No, I would say
go to Crushing Crisis. That's where I used before, when I was prepping for this.
I looked at Comic Book Herald. That's where I looked.
So I think altogether there's probably going to be a total of 3 omnibuses. You're going to have the original storyline that will also include. I would include Unworthy Thor in that first omnibus, and then the Jane Foster run, and then the recent Thor run, and I think War of the Realms might be its own thing. I don't see Marvel putting that in an omnibus, kind of like what they did with Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars, make it its own event, its own hardcover. So yeah.
Yeah.
The first God Butcher is out of print. The OHC. It's kind of hard to find. So
yeah.
But that's it. That's we're gonna plan on doing this every 2 weeks.
We're gonna make sure we have at least 2 issues to do the review. So it won't be next week. It'll be the week after, the following week, which is. Anyone got a calendar?
Hold on. But if we do it every other week, isn't it bi-monthly? So 2 issues a month,
shoot.
right?
Yeah, you're right. Okay, I'm
so
sorry.
It's once a month that we'll be doing this.
Yes, once a month. So the next one would be the 15th.
Yeah, because you got one that comes out the 1st and then the 15th of May.
Yeah, so 15th of May will be the next one we do since it comes out bi-monthly. So that'll be the next time we'll do this, War of the Realms. That way we'll get issues 3 and 4. And during that time, we'll probably put together a reading order and kind of do you guys want to see a before reading order or also any of the tie-ins as well during this whole saga that's going on? Do you guys ever sleep?
No, Joe,
Joe,
Philip.
I do not sleep.
We do not
I
sleep.
had to put those little things under my eyes right before the show so I didn't look like I was a tired mom.
That's her secret. She's always tired.
It's those thingies. Yeah, anyways.
Yeah, we can do either one. We can put those out there.
Exactly. So if that's something that you guys want, we're definitely going to take a look at some of the tie-ins too, and we'll talk about those on the 15th of May, and how those are going. So stay tuned for that as well. And yeah.
Okay.
And so there we go.
That's it. Thank you so much. We've got over 8,000 subscribers. It's on our road to 10,000 starts today. Thank you, everybody, for hitting that like and subscribe button. Much love to everyone and you guys that could not catch it live. Thank you for watching on the
thank you
on the repeat. What the hell is it called? I don't know. Syndication.
Syndication.
I'm old. I don't know what the hell these people call it on YouTube. On the YouTube. Okay.
It can be syndication.
Sign us off, young chick.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications of more great Near Mint condition content. Remember to follow us on all of our social media channels at Near Mint Con. And remember, we also have a Patreon. So if you want to support us, check it out in our description and all of our social media accounts. We have some great benefits for our patrons. And last but not least, remember, if it's classy and cool, it must be Near Mint. Have a good evening, guys. See y'all later.
Bye, guys.